Before we get on to New South Wales matters, I just want to get your thoughts on what's going on in Victoria. And it kind of relates to New South Wales because it's quite clear that the authorities didn't learn the lessons of Newmarch House today.
Well, Pete, good morning. I think the most important thing at this stage is that people don't see politicians engaging in unedifying squabbles. At the end of the day, if you're a resident or you're a family member of someone in one of those aged care homes, what you want to know is that the governments are working together collaboratively to ensure that these outbreaks are contained.
But the squabbles are brought about because of a few different reasons, though, right? And it's pressure. People are really feeling the pressure at the moment.
They are, and I know that from personal experience. My mum has been a aged care nurse in the Victorian system. That they are very high-pressure jobs. I'm very conscious of the work that the nurses are doing under extreme pressure. Obviously, a number of the aged care workers have contracted the virus, and so that's why we're doing things like funding new training so new staff can go in there to support these homes.
So, two different points. One's a federal point, one's a state point. Minister Greg Hunt talked yesterday about sending in these crack medical teams. I mean, it's taken 39 deaths before that's started to happen. Should that have happened sooner?
Well, I mean, the Victorian government is responsible for its own jurisdiction, and we have provided support and offered help on a whole range of...
But the federal government runs the aged care sector, though, right?
Well, we licence the aged care providers, but at the end of the day, the providers are also responsible for running their own affairs under the licensing regime. But these homes are in the state of Victoria, so we all need to be working together. It doesn't help to try and have divisions at this very difficult time. Certainly, it won't help those people that are in the aged care facilities.
Yeah, OK. Well then should Daniel Andrews have cancelled the elective surgery earlier, as was the wish by the Prime Minister, to kind of free up staff members to be able to go into these aged care centres?
Look, Pete, again, I'm unwilling to engage in unedifying tiffs, but what I would say is that wherever we have, at the federal level, we have followed the health advice to a T, and I think that's what all governments should do. OK, just on to a few other issues now. The Queensland Premier, we just got some breaking news. There is a school that's had a teacher infected with COVID-19. It's probably going to strengthen the argument for her to close the border with New South Wales. What's your thoughts on that, particularly now that the outbreak seems to be gathering momentum in Sydney as well? At the end of the day, there hasn't been substantive health advice that shows that closing borders is particularly effective. Obviously, in Victoria it's been necessary, but...
Yeah. I mean, you'd be happy with that, wouldn't you? You'd be happy with Victoria and New South Wales closing its border.
But, I mean, there was always going to be some outbreaks from time to time, Pete, and that was always part of the plan. We've got a plan to deploy resources where we need them, whether it's PPE or training or funding. And I think we want to try and maintain a balance where we don't close down everything in one jurisdiction because there is one or two cases.
Yeah, but so when is the marker? When's the marker for when borders do need to be closed? No, one or two cases, I'm sure most people would agree with you there, but at what point do you start shutting things down? Is it 100, 150, 200? Have you got an idea on that?
Well, again, I'm reluctant to put my finger in the air and guess, but my understanding is in New South Wales, which is the state that I represent in the federal parliament, that they have talked about numbers of around 250 people or more would be required as a daily caseload to close down the state.
Do you get the sense, Senator, that Josh Frydenberg's figures from last week are going to be a bit off because you kind of get the feeling that Victoria's shutdown is going to last longer than 6 weeks now? And now that case numbers increase in New South Wales as well, you kind of start to get worried a bit.
Well, forecasting is always very challenging, but I think we've shown over this course of coalition government that we've chosen to be quite conservative with our projections, and so I'm sure that that's how the Treasury would have conducted their forward forecasts. But at the end of the day, we can't continue on under a system where we're closing down huge parts of the economy. So we need to be able to live with this virus and managing it properly.
Well, even the World Health Organization finally conceded that we're just going to have to live with it, and you can't keep shutting things down as well. It mentioned that 2 days ago, which I found as a bit of a surprise coming from the World Health Organization at the moment. Josh Frydenberg, he last week espoused a keen interest in Thatcherism. Senator, do you agree with him?
I do, and I think it's absolutely the right way to go in terms of looking to ways to increase private investment, and that can happen through deregulation, cutting taxes, making government easy to deal with. The only way out of this virus over the long term is going to be to increase private investment, which is the driver of jobs growth. And so lower taxes, less regulation, that is absolutely the way to go.
And what would your hope be? Would you be hoping to bring forward the next tranches of tax cuts, perhaps starting from next year?
I think we should absolutely look at lower taxes. We should absolutely look at pursuing Christian Porter's agenda to simplify the industrial relations system. I mean, the idea that you have a horribly complex award system, the way that the enterprise bargaining system is being killed. I mean, these things are job killers. And so we need to have an environment where it's easy to create jobs. But equally, we want to have an environment where Australia is seen as an attractive destination for foreign investment.
What about
especially?
Yep. Sorry.
So I was going to say, I mean, especially with the demise of Hong Kong as a financial centre, I mean, we should be doing all we can to try and attract those jobs to Sydney predominantly, which is already a strong regional financial and tech centre.
What about an increase to GST?
Well, I think you would only do that if you were going to reduce other taxes. I don't think the answer is increasing the overall tax take. I mean, we want to be reducing taxes so that we can improve the levels of private investment. I've never seen a study that shows that increasing taxes leads to higher levels of investment and jobs.
When it comes, given the current economic climate that we're in at the moment, should this change at all the legislated increases to super?
Well, as you know, the Treasurer has received a retirement income review, and that is an important review in the life of this government. And I'll leave it to the Treasurer to respond to that in detail. But at the end of the day, we don't want to be increasing the cost of employment during a pandemic.
Just finally, Senator, APRA, it's given the green light for not-for-profit funds to sponsor political events by treating payments differently to direct political donations. What's your thoughts on this?
Well, super is there for the workers. It's not there for the Labor Party or for the trade unions. And I'm very worried that the Prudential Regulator has effectively given a green light for the super funds to make political donations. I mean, this is ridiculous. That's not what super is for.